Bro, it's all good. Sucio talk. Hanging out with my main man. Shit right now. Sucio talk. Hanging out with Chef Mark Liew. Mark, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. How
How's
are
it
you?
feel to be the third pastry chef ever on the show? I'm probably offending a lot of people right now. Third pastry chef on the show.
Third.
Right?
But happy to be here. Good
Yeah,
to see
man.
you.
Good to see you, man. Last time I saw you was fucking 2015 at the restaurant at Meadowood.
That was.
Yeah. I quite vividly remember when you burned Carl.
I did a lot of things.
There was a fucking pot of oil down his boot, but the thing was, he literally took off his boot and did service barefoot.
Yeah.
So shout out to Carl.
Oh, man.
Oil burns on his feet.
Sorry, Carl.
Skin sliding off of his feet, and he's still doing service. 3 stars, baby.
Oh, man.
That's what I like to call it.
Oh, yeah.
So Mark, man, fucking grew up in the Bay Area.
Yep.
Not a lot of chefs that I talk to have done that.
Nope.
So let's talk to us a little bit about what the Bay Area was when you were growing up versus what it is now.
Wow. Oh, man. So I was born and raised in San Francisco proper. Grew up there.
What neighborhood?
I grew up in Diamond Heights,
Okay.
which is like, kind of close to Coit Tower.
Right.
Not close to Coit Tower, close to the Sucio Tower up there. And yeah, grew up there with my parents and my sister. And then we moved to Alameda, lived with my grandparents.
Okay.
All my family lives out here. All my great aunts and uncles live out here.
Okay.
So it's a really near and dear special place to me.
Mm-hmm.
I take great pride in where I'm from. Not many chefs other than my chef at Cezanne, Chef Rich.
Right.
He's born and raised here. We take great pride in our sports, and
Yeah, you do.
yeah,
Hell yeah, you do.
yeah, we do. And,
That's good. Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's
You know what
got
I
to
mean?
do it
Because there's a lot of San Francisco haters out there.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
there's a lot of haters.
Yeah.
And moving to New York to start my career, never felt right. Never felt like I was at home because San Francisco's home. So
Right.
the goal was always to come back and put my mark on the industry here in the city. So
Yeah.
that's kind of been what I've been aiming for since like 2015, since we were
Gotcha.
working together.
I will say, and obviously I know the difference between San Francisco and New York to me, but what about that? Because to me also they're two cities.
Yeah.
I never really lived in a city growing up, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of neither here nor there when it comes down to it. But what was the main difference of New York city-wise that you're like, I don't like this?
I just, New Yorkers are very abrasive people.
Oh, hell yeah, they are, man.
Like, you got to be some kind of special to live in New York. And
Some kind of special, he said.
New Yorkers, I just vividly remember this one time where it was a day off and I'm just, my West Coast lifestyle.
Yeah.
Going slow and everybody's in the fast lane. And I was leaving this turnstile out of the subway, and this old lady literally cuts me off, like right in front of the turnstile. I was like, I'm just trying to live my life, and here she is.
Yeah.
And I don't know, somebody also once told me that, go to New York to harden yourself, but don't stay too long to where you're hardened forever.
Okay.
So I was like, okay,
All
that
right.
makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
And I never regret moving back.
Mhm.
I think I moved back a little too soon.
Okay.
I moved back for some family health. My aunt went through some stuff, so
Heard.
so I kind of had to make the decision for myself and my family to be closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that. Now tell me this. When you were growing up, what were you eating? Was the traditional, were you guys
gosh.
cooking at home or were you going out to eat a lot?
Yeah, we cooked at home a lot when my grandma was around.
Okay.
Right out here in Oakland. We would every Saturday have dim sum together at this restaurant, like Peony.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes there in Chinatown.
Oh, really?
And after that, we would, it'd be my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, my cousins, my family. We would have dim sum together, and then my grandma and I would excuse ourselves, and we would go grocery shopping together. for dinner that night.
Okay.
And we would all reconvene at my grandma's house for dinner. And so she'd cook dinner. There was, you know, every kind of Chinese dish you can imagine, like steam eggs, rice, different whatever it may be.
Mm.
So, yeah, she would cook everything, and we would all just sit around and have family dinner. And, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So you knew already when you were young, you're like, food is going to be something in my life. I don't know a job, but it's going to be there.
You know, it's been quite a journey, I would say.
Hence your Instagram name?
Yeah.
One Baker's Journey.
Correct. So it was, I would say that I baked a lot as a kid.
Okay.
You know, I took that up a lot at home all the time. But I pursued the medical field first.
Okay.
So
Wow.
went to college here in San Rafael, graduated with a biology degree, have a minor in chemistry and math.
Okay.
Worked at UCSF, working with kids who were kind of long-term stays at hospitals and helping them live a normal life, but within the walls of a hospital.
Okay.
So that was kind of the route that I went down for a while. And it took me taking a little time off, like a sabbatical year. And my mom kind of turned to me one day and was like, hey, like, you should consider baking for a living.
Okay.
So
Because she saw how much joy you weren't getting from this field?
Yes, correct.
Got you. And when you're on the trajectory to being in the medical field, what was the biggest turnoff from that you're like, I don't think I can continue doing this? Is it the actual academic work, or is it the fact that you're dealing with sick people all the time?
Yeah. So most of it was just dealing with sick kids and seeing kids that go through way more in their short time on this earth. Like, you know, they're kids.
Right.
They're 4, they're 5, they're 6. Like, they're going through so much more than most of us will ever go through. And just seeing them break down and seeing them struggle to just survive.
Entire families.
And entire families who give up everything and drop everything just to be there for their kids.
Right.
It just took a real emotional toll on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just could not see myself doing that forever.
Okay.
Like, I love kids. Like, I have a godson. He's great. He's a big part of my life. But, like, part of me just couldn't continue doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your mom suggests, hey, why don't you bake?
Yeah.
And what's your first response to that? You're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Or-
I was like, are you kidding? Like, did we not spend all this money on tuition
the
for
education.
college and education?
You know, that's a good point, man.
Yeah.
That she's willing to be like, hey, just throw all this away. Fuck it.
Yeah,
You're not happy.
My parents have done everything for me.
Yeah.
And also, like, a traditional Asian mom is not going to turn around and be like, hey, like, you should give up being a doctor so you can go make pastries for a living.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when I, you know, realized for the first time that she really truly wanted what was best for me back then, you know. And I always remember saying to her, I said, you sure? Like, I always thought you wanted me to be a doctor. And she said, I never said that. So, you know.
God
there I
damn.
am.
So what was your first step? First job? Did you go get a job or did you go to culinary school?
I went to culinary school.
Damn, after all that schooling, you're like, you know what?
School,
I need some more school.
And I wouldn't say that pastry school taught me anything that I didn't already know.
Okay,
You know,
gotcha.
I went to the California Culinary Academy when it was transitioning to Le Cordon Bleu.
Okay.
And I would go to school, and then after that, I happened upon a job to open Coquetto with Michael Chiarello.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of my assignments for pastry school was to interview a chef, and I wanted to interview his pastry chef.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of like got me in the door. And
Who was it at the time?
It was Chef Christina.
Okay.
Yeah, we still are connected on social media here and there, which is kind of cool.
Right.
But just so happened to, you know, get a job there as well, down in the city. And so I'd go to school and then I'd go to work.
Got you.
Yeah.
And then how long was the school program there?
The school program was a year.
1 year.
Yeah,
okay.
1 year.
You come out of that with like a certificate.
Yeah, you get a certificate. It was like 9 months and then like a 3-month externship.
Got you. Is it baking intensive?
It was very baking intensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So you sort of took like the baking major, if you will.
Yes.
Got you. And what is your experience in this school? Because you're like coming from the medical field.
Yeah.
Was it just young kids there?
Actually, like my class had a bunch of very different, there were people who were my age, there were some who were older. The class definitely started out at like 30 kids and ended with like 11 maybe.
Right.
Yeah, so definitely people like dropped out and like felt like that wasn't for them. But I think out of all my classmates, I'm probably one of 2 that still do this for a living.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. So you were working at Chiarello after you got out of school? Did you just stay there past the internship?
No, I stayed there, and on my off days from school and from Coqueta, I would end up, first of all, let's backtrack. Culinary school, they had an event where we kind of helped out some chefs during a Star Chefs event.
Okay.
And that's where I met Chef Juan Contreras, who's the pastry chef at Atelier Cren.
Heard.
And so on some of my off days from Coqueta, I would go and help out at Atelier Cren.
All right.
And my externship actually ended up taking me out to New York, which is why I was in New York.
All right.
So I would say that the greatest thing that I got out of culinary school was one of my chef instructors. And her name's Chef Holly. She's great. She was my bread instructor. And I really considered staying in San Francisco to do my externship. But she was the one who really pushed me to go beyond just staying in San Francisco.
Okay.
She's like, with your talent, which I didn't think I had any, and I still kind of don't, but
right.
It's like, she said you should go to New York. So she gave me like 8 restaurants, like Cafe Baloo, Danielle, John George, all of that. And one of them was 11 Madison Park. And I remember emailing all these places, and only EMP ever got back to me.
Right.
So flew out there.
Which is usually not the story.
Which is not the story,
right? It's like, I emailed, they never talked to me.
Yeah, exactly. So it came down to 5 days of a vacation break during pastry school, and I flew out there, did a stage, and it all just happened from there. Yeah.
Okay. What was EMP like? What year is this?
Gosh, this is 2013?
2013, EMP. Who's the CDC?
CDC was... Okay, I get them interchanged and I mix it up a lot. Because back then when I started in the industry, I'm like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Like, I didn't know who was who.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the CDC was Connie Chang. And Connie Chang also grew up here in San Francisco and went to the same culinary school.
Okay.
And then at the same time, that's when Chef Chris Flint and James Kent were kind of going back and forth from EMP and the Nomad.
Ah.
So who I saw during my stage was different from who I saw when I officially started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heard that. Yeah, they were opening the Nomad at that time, right?
Yeah, they were.
Okay. Because that was when I moved to San Francisco. So I remember that being an option. Like, well, you can go work at the Nomad. It's like, nah, I'm good. So EMP back in the day, how many cooks we talking in that kitchen?
Oh, God.
You see the pictures, and it's always like 65 people.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Did they really make you wear those toques?
Yes, they did.
Oh, my goodness.
And
with the toques.
this is me, like, as a 23-year-old kid, like later than most when you come to the restaurant industry. Usually you're like cooking when you're like 16.
That's right. Yeah.
And I went into it when I was 23. And I remember having to put on this toque, and my head is so big that I had to break the toque in the back and tape it from the inside.
Oh.
And on our pastry station, we had these cabinets. And every time I had to do some kind of work, I would smack the toque on this cabinet.
And just fall off all the time?
And it would just like go here, go there.
Oh, so it was all full of stains too? Because you were like...
and then you got to go upstairs and get a new one. And I'm like, ugh. Anyway, but yeah, that kitchen was huge.
Yeah.
In pastry alone, we had 12. We had 6 in the morning and 6 at night.
Right.
So big team. And that's not even including Chef Angela, and that's not even including our sous chef,
Okay.
you know. So big team. The rest of the kitchen, it's like 50 or so.
50 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
a
easy to
lot.
get lost.
Oh yeah. You can seriously get lost there.
For sure.
Like if you wanted to feel small and like not be seen,
You definitely. Yeah.
they would see you.
Oh, for sure.
They would
100%.
see you.
They'll find you.
Oh, they would.
That's so funny. So what were they serving at that time? What was their menu?
Gosh.
Or like not specific things, but how big was the menu, course wise?
Menu was probably 10, 12 courses.
Got
It
you.
was a
Did they have
very-
different options or supplements?
When I started, it was different options.
Okay.
So they
6 course,
basically
8 course, 12
They
course.
basically put a menu down, and you basically got to choose from like 4 different categories.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it was back then.
And then when did it switch to we're only doing one menu? Were you there for that?
Nope.
What was your tenure there? How long?
I was only there for my duration.
Just your
of my-
internship.
yeah,
Got
just
you.
the externship.
Did you have any inkling to stay, or were you just like, eh?
I wanted to, but you
Right.
know, at the time, I was still such a young kid. I still had so much to learn.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
They eventually put me at the Nomad.
Okay.
So I was, you know, my first official cook job, making $10 an hour
Right.
was at
In
the
New
Napa.
York, motherfucking
in
city.
New York. And we're not even gonna talk about the externship money. Like,
Yeah.
that was like that much.
$20 a day.
It pretty much felt like $20 a
That's
day.
pretty much what it is. Yeah.
And it was like my first time moving out from home into a big city, so far from home,
Uh-huh.
and having to figure it out for myself.
Survive. Yeah.
And survive. Yeah.
Because you know, your parents will always be there for you, but not without giving you flack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like the last thing you want to do is call your fucking parents and tell them you need money.
Yeah.
Especially as a brown man, I'm just like, I don't do that. And I know a lot of Asian households like,
I don't do that either.
You don't
but
fucking
I
ask your
definitely
parents
had
for
to do it
shit.
one time.
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what they're there for, you know? You know, they put you on this earth. They got to help you out somehow.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't always do it by yourself. So those that have the privilege to do so, that like have parents that can help you out a little bit, use them. Like
Yeah.
that's what they're there for. And I think sometimes, a lot of times, I would rather suffer than ever ask them for anything.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But now getting older, I'm like, I was like 15 at that time. I could have just asked them for shit. Like, what was I thinking? You know, because you think you're so grown when you're 18. You know, so you come back to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And what do you do when you get back here? Do you have a job lined up, or do you just?
Yeah. So that's how I ended up at Meadowood.
Oh, all right.
So I was here visiting my aunt, and one of my friends, her name's Kim, she wanted to do something nice for me. And I was like, okay, well, she's like, where do you want to go eat? Like, where's one place that you've always wanted to go eat? And I said, well, I'd love to go eat at Meadowood. And so she books the garden.
The chef's table. Yeah.
Yeah.
The garden chef.
The garden. And
Whoever ate at the restaurant on Meadowood at the garden. You don't even know what that is.
that's right. It's not TD Garden.
Yeah, it's not Madison Square Garden.
It's
It's
the
not
garden.
my grandma's garden.
And so I was there, and I was just the solo diner, and I was eating in the kitchen, and I was kind of chatting it up with
I remember
with
that shit.
everybody
Yeah,
that
bro.
was there. And I
Very
was talking-
vividly, I remember
And I was
that.
talking to Chef, and everything's great, and I'm like having a great time.
Yeah.
It was like still one of the most magical meals I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I remember I was only in town for like 4 days or so, and I was up at Meadowood, and I had the meal, and it was great. And I emailed Chef. I emailed Chef Costow, and I said, hey, like, everything about this meal, the ethos, the restaurant, the food, the connection to California, it was everything that I realized that I wanted.
Right.
And I sent him this email, and he replies right away, and he's like, you want to send a resume?
Yeah.
And I was like, in New York, I'm only here for a couple days, and I ended up stepping into that kitchen on the other side and doing a stage.
Right.
like right before I had to leave the very next morning.
Yep.
And, you know,
Remember that was an impromptu stage.
yeah, it was a very impromptu stage. It was the same time that like Howard Coe was like on
Yeah.
his way out, you know?
Yeah, Howard Coe was leaving.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's how I fell into that job.
Right. And then
And I was doing savory, which
Yeah.
was something
That's
that
right, you'd
was
never done before.
completely out of
yeah.
my zone.
What dishes? Do you remember dishes?
Oh, yes.
Anything that you
I remember abalone and matsutake.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that that candle course.
The candle and the cheese,
With the cheese.
Cremeux de Citeaux, and
I remember
yeah.
the sunflower butter that was layered into the cheese.
That's right.
I remember the foie curls on the toast. On the
Okay.
milk
Yep.
bread. I remember the avocado supplement for that.
Yeah, it was like
Version for that, it was like
foie avocado.
I think that was before the foie avocado. I feel
Right,
like that's
right.
when the foie avocado.
You might have had the one that was it was a foie lobe that they I think Miles Punzak Poe was the one who
Yeah.
created this dish. But
Yeah.
basically they put a marinade on it with like cilantro, parsley, lemon, and then they would put the bicheton on it.
Yeah.
And then they would char it until it was like all the way charred, but it was cooked, and then you could put it in the fridge, get it cold, and slice it, serve it extremely cold.
Yeah.
But it still had that
I
soft
remember
cooked
that.
texture.
I remember it was charred too.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, those are some of the dishes that I remember.
I remember you doing that, charring the foie gras.
Yeah.
Remember that? It was just like you would do it on the fire. I think you were on garde manger at the time.
Yep. That
Yeah.
was like the
Because I was on
opposite
meat,
from
and I was like,
pastry.
I gotta have a fucking fire for this guy, or else we're gonna be fucked out here.
I remember like breaking like spiny lobsters for the first
Yeah,
time in my
yeah.
life, for like
Big
working
ass-
on
big
like
ass ones they
surf
used to get.
clams and stuff like that. Like something that's completely out of my realm.
Yeah, crazy ingredients.
Yeah.
yeah. Did you ever make it to pastry yet?
No,
Meadowood?
no, I didn't.
You were on snacks, I think.
Yeah,
the
I was
last
on
canapes.
snacks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Because I forgot.
Oof.
You get shit canned or what?
What was that?
You get fired?
Yeah.
No, happens.
And it was, and I was okay with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually.
at the end of the day, I have a chef that says, if you haven't been fired, you haven't been trying hard enough.
Yeah, it was. I will say, like, I am always so thankful for the opportunities that Chef Costow gave me.
Oh, of course.
Because he did something that no other chef has ever done for me in my career. Like, I'm the pastry kid who shows up with knives that aren't sharp. I don't know how to sharpen my knives, and I'm in a 3 Michelin star environment.
Right.
And I remember one time he arranged a one-on-one knife sharpening class with me and him at Bernal Cutlery.
He did that. He
Yes,
did
he
do
did.
that. Yes.
And no one has ever done that for me in my career. And I've been so thankful for him choosing to go out of his way to better me,
Right.
you know. And, you know, a pastry kid, savory is hard.
Yeah.
Like, it is hard. And it came down to that one day where there was that CIA conference with all those chefs. Like, there was like some
Right,
event
right.
at the
World
CIA.
of Flavors.
Yes.
World of Flavors.
Whatever it was.
Dude, that has
And-
claimed so many jobs.
and when you work Snack Station, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna maybe churn out 10 snacks. Like,
nope.
no, a menu of 10, like, long menu of snacks, but maybe 10 people max. That day, I remember it was like 70 something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where do I have the mise en place for this?
Yeah, you
I
don't.
don't have
You don't,
that.
yeah.
Nobody would.
Nobody. Yeah.
Nobody.
I got the same, man. The World of Flavors came. They had like 60 people in there. I'm pretty sure I got kicked off the station.
And that's the
I
thing.
almost
It's
punched
like,
Nathaniel in the face.
and I am such an emotionally driven person
Mm-hmm.
where it was so much all at once that I was just numb from head to toe.
Yeah,
I
well,
couldn't
were
breathe.
you just like, can't do
I
anything?
basically fell into my first ever panic attack, and I walked out, that side
that
door
little side door, yeah.
because I couldn't even breathe. But then at some point it was like, yes, we had to get through service, but I'm also dying out here.
Yeah, I'm not
know?
okay.
And I had just reached this point where I was just like, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And I remember just like never coming back.
Yeah.
Which
Literally.
was tough.
Yeah.
But I always remember that Chef Costow and Chef Kat like asked me to come back in, and we just sat down in front of the fireplace, and we just talked after that the next day.
Got it.
We were like, things happened, and at the same time, I feel like it was probably best that, I wasn't there anymore. Like, I love that restaurant.
Yeah.
I, like everybody else, was devastated when that restaurant ceased to exist.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I will say that fire forever immortalized that restaurant.
Yeah.
Like the fucking, I think it's called the glass fire.
Yeah.
Whatever fire
yeah.
took down Meadowood, like that. I was telling Chef, like, you have now become the Tupac of chefs. Like your restaurant fucking burned down. Your 3 stars are forever.
Yeah.
They can never take away your fucking 3 Michelin stars.
That's
How badass is that? They're
That is
forever
true.
immortalized.
That's insane.
Like no other restaurant has that shit. Like I don't know, and I'm almost like, don't build it again.
Yeah.
Like let it die and make another one.
Yeah.
The Meadowood at restaurant. I don't know, but just you know what I mean. Like it's such a beautiful place, and I don't think.
Yeah.
And like because you were there, it's like you really had to be there
Yeah.
to understand what we're talking about.
100%.
And then when we get to this time of year too, it's kind of because this is like around the time when the fires started happening, and it's like I remember being up at Charter Oak during 2020, fucking all the smoke is really thick,
yeah.
and you can't work, and then you have your day off, you escape to the city, and then all of the fucking smoke comes
Just
to the
comes
city, and
into
you're
the
like,
city.
how is this happening?
Yeah, it was like
pretty wild.
I remember at one point it was like the worst air quality anywhere in the world, and I was just like, I'm not gonna try to make this sound messed up or anything, but people in Napa and San Francisco wore masks before anyone else because of all that smoke.
Yeah, that's right.
Like all those years, even previous to 2020, like in 2018, it was like, I remember this air quality being so bad.
Yeah, the KN95s were a thing.
It was bad.
Mm-hmm. Crazy. So when you left there, are you quickly planning to go somewhere else, or did you kind of have to take some time for yourself?
No, I took some time. And there were a lot of times where I seriously debated leaving fine dining forever. Mm-hmm. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like after all these years, I absolutely could have. I took some time and I went to go work at a patisserie.
Okay.
Kind of really honed in chocolate techniques, making macarons, laminated doughs, things that restaurants might not teach you sometimes, especially in the laminated.
In the 3-star world too, you're doing such new techniques that it's like it's unteachable almost sometimes. It's like I don't know if did you ever work with Ignacio on pastry? I think he came after you. And just like the way that he would explain shit to me, because I'd be like, hey, how do you do that? He'd be like, hey, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you mix it and fucking whatever. And I'm just like, how do you guys work pastry over there? I have no idea, because most of the recipes were made recipes.
Yeah.
And they've been tested, but like how many times? 15 times?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you have to like figure it out during service, and it's not like, I remember when they did the beignet, they fried black truffle in it. An entire black truffle.
Oh shit!
That truffle shuffle had to call in favors, and there's like one guy who brings in most of the truffles into the United States, called the Kingpin, and he rerouted orders to Mikuni and like Foods in Season just so the restaurant at Meadowood could have 60 tiny, small fucking black truffles that they then pressure cooked, and then we fried them in the 2-ounce ladle with the siphoned batter.
Yeah.
This is the first time I had ever seen that technique.
Yeah.
Now you see it a lot.
Yes, you do.
But I'm just gonna say, Meadowood started that shit. I'm just gonna say that right there. All right, it's all good. Come at me. All right. Where the fuck were we?
The patisserie.
Patisserie. Where was that patisserie?
So the patisserie was part of the Alexander's group.
Okay.
And
Where was it?
It was in Mountain View.
Oh, Mountain View. Nice.
So I commuted that 45 minutes each way every day.
I gotta say though, there's something nice about a commute.
It is nice.
You don't have to roll out of bed and be at work.
Oh yeah.
I'm down with that, because I'm sure when you worked at Meadowood.
At Meadowood it was even closer, because remember that when you turn left, you went into Meadowood, the resort.
Yeah.
But when you turn right, there was that one house that was there.
Yeah.
I lived in like this little shack that.
Oh,
was
that's right.
on
You
that
lived
house.
in the. You got
So the phrase rolling out of bed and going into work was also real.
Yeah, it was a real
that
thing.
Close.
Yeah, I remember that. Jacqueline stayed there for quite a while
Oh,
too.
wow. Okay.
A lot of people stayed at that place.
Interesting.
Yeah, they said it was like the coldest place I'd ever stayed.
It was
in.
cold.
Yeah.
I remember finding a scorpion on the floor, and I was like, I don't know.
There is scorpions
about
up in
this.
Napa, bro.
That's crazy.
People don't know about that.
Nope, people don't know,
Yeah.
but there was a scorpion. But yeah, like I went to the patisserie and thought about potentially not going back into restaurants, you know, and that's where I met one of my best friends. She was one of the original externs and that worked at Saison. So she also had that fine dining background. Her name's Marielle, and we just became inseparable friends.
Right.
You know, which that means so much to me. But I did eventually venture back into fine dining through different routes. You know,
Where'd you go first?
I wanted to be a reservationist.
Okay.
I thought about, you know, not cooking still. And I went back to Atelier Cren. And I walked in the door and I remember seeing Chef Juan and the assistant, the office assistant, her name's Jasmine. She was giving the interview at the time. And so I sat down with her and I sat down with the general manager at the time. And we were just talking about why I wanted this job and, you know, me considering just taking a different route inside restaurants. And one thing that he said to me was, if you were to work here, would you be focused on your job or would you be watching what's going on in the kitchen? And I was like, wow. I was like,
That's a great fucking question.
I was like, damn. I was like, I honestly ended up really thinking hard to myself. And I was like, I would absolutely be watching what's going on inside this kitchen. And I distinctly remember me saying goodbye to Chef Juan. And the man did not say a single word about an opening coming up.
Right.
And I remember the general manager saying, you know, he's looking for someone. And I was like, then why can't this guy just tell me?
Yeah.
You know, it's like we have history. Like, you know who I am. Like, why don't you just tell me that
It's
you're
always
looking
these
to fill
fucking weird messaging and like cryptic fucking.
so cryptic.
You know?
And
Like, come
I was
on,
just
man.
like, why can't you just tell me that you're hiring? And I texted him. I still had his number. And I was like, hey, chef, I heard you have a spot. And so he's like, you know what? You don't need to stage. I know who you are.
Yeah.
He's like, so I ended up being a pastry cook there.
Dope.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Who was this?
This was when they were 2-star.
Okay.
That's when Kevin Finch was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he the acting CTC at the
Yeah,
time? Okay.
yes, he was.
Got you.
And great guy. And so I eventually became pastry sous chef there.
Dope.
Yeah.
Got you.
Learned a lot.
Compared to EMP, what would you say the differences or similarities were? You know, it's all 3-star food at this point.
Yeah. Back
Right.
then it was still 2-star.
Right, right.
But I think what was different was that we would all come together and sit down and eat, and everyone was a little more supportive of one another. Everybody knew each other.
It was much more family.
Exactly. It
Smaller
was
team
so
though,
much-
right?
Yeah, much
Okay.
smaller team. I would say maybe like 15.
How
or
many
less.
how many covers were you doing at Atelier?
Goodness, we were doing maybe mid-30s.
Okay.
Yeah,
And how
2
many
seatings.
how many covers at EMP?
EMP definitely reached like 110.
110.
110.
Okay. Got you. Just the sheer amount of plates that
Yeah,
is
exactly.
crazy.
Across all the courses,
Yeah, for
all
sure.
that silverware, all the glassware.
Yeah.
It's like, you think about it, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's a lot.
And that's why I think of when I think of this new sustainability thing that they're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, and I'm like, we need to figure it out. But when you do service, you use a dishwasher.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's a wasteful thing. So it's like, how do we
Yeah.
use that? You know, recycle the water maybe to clean the floor or like something.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point we need to make new dishwasher machines and need to stop renting shit from Ecolab.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not fucking all those chemicals and shit. It's like something's got to give.
Yeah, it's
you
like
know?
one of the freezers that I have at work right now. It's not working too great, but it's like not using Freon or like chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
It's run on propane.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm still trying to figure out.
Run on propane.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
crazy. So it's like you have to start it, or is it always just going?
It's always going. There's no chemical.
Even when you have to, like, I guess the propane's just like coming right out of the wall, or what?
Probably. I'll figure that out
Okay,
this week.
there
There's a
we
guy
go.
Coming in. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's a little more sustainable than just pumping Freon into,
Yeah.
the environment.
Yeah, there you go. Propane, Freon, who knows?
But yeah.
How long did you stay at Atelier?
Atelier was a very interesting experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that just like at Meadowood, I've been burned at multiple points in my career.
Okay.
And I love everything about, Atelier. I love my chef. However, I was just like shipped off to Petit Crane, the other restaurant, for a while. And when I thought I was making my transition back to Atelier Crane, I was just let go.
Got you.
Yeah.
So basically, they did the thing where it was like, you don't really know much. We're going to put you at the other restaurant, get you up to speed, and then bring you back.
Yeah.
You know,
they were trying to open that patisserie at the Salesforce Tower. So
Right.
they hired people in.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just, as they were developing this concept, they just had these two basically work in my spot at Atelier Crane.
Right.
And so it sucked.
Yeah.
It really sucked.
And how was the messaging for that? Did they like come in and like talk to you by the fire like Chef Costow did, or
No,
was it like
absolutely not.
Let's just
It
pull
was-
these moves and see how he feels?
It was through an email.
Ooh,
And I was like, I woke up one morning and I thought I was going to work and I wasn't,
yeah,
and I think that's one of the things that's been so wrong in the industry is that we're just treated like we're dispensable.
right,
You're not seen as an asset most of the time. You're kind of just seen as someone who's a placeholder. You're seen as someone who just does the work,
right,
and that's what I take it upon myself, like as a pastry chef and having assistants, like I want their lives to be substantially different from what I had to go through.
mm-hmm.
And so while I was at Cezanne, I was like, something's got to change here. I had two assistants and I was like, okay, you're going to work from 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening. Then after that, you can go out, you can see friends, you can do whatever you want. And then we'll just rotate schedules. Like you go, one steps in at 9, you leave by 11.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted that balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's something that's still incredibly lacking.
Right, everywhere. Restaurants. But it's funny that you say balance and then you're like, work 11 hours and then have your time off at night. You know what I mean? It's like
chef says you should work 10
that's
hours.
a chef
so
life,
you're
baby.
going to work 10 hours.
It's like, I think work balance is like, we need to figure out a definition for that,
Yeah.
because I think there's on the other side, you can get lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, well, I need the balance. And it's like, well, you're not going to get skilled at the craft that you want to get skilled at if you spend your time doing other shit. You know what I mean? I think that when you say work-life balance, like, yes, there's work. Part of the life balance is like learning how to exit work for the weekend and come back to work for the weekend. Because if you're not too careful, you can spend every day working, and that's where the life-work balance goes. Mm-hmm. And it is easy to say that guy didn't give me work-life balance, but I think us as cooks, sometimes we take the easy road and we're like, I'm not going anywhere today. I'm just going to go to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then we're all sad and shit. It's like, yeah, you didn't get any fucking sun. Like, you didn't get any sun for the 5 days that you worked, and then the 2 days that you were off, you slept.
Yep.
And you got hammered one day.
Yep.
So it's like, how is that? You know what I mean? So
totally
just
get
playing devil's advocate on the other side of like work-life balance. I love work-life balance, but what does that mean? I don't think anybody has actually defined it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to do. We're here to define that shit, because it's like, I don't blame the restaurants. That's just like, they're just doing what they can.
Yeah.
And I do feel like restaurant work is very reactive to where like they're not It's like, okay, well, what are we going to do next week? What are we going to do next week? Where it's like, let's just stop for a second. Like for this month, we're not doing any offsite events because we need to figure out how to do offsite events in a better manner. But then again, that's coming from a place of like, I can't say to people to just do that because businesses don't make enough money to be doing that.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
Cost of goods is up, cost of labor's up. You know what I mean?
Cost of living is up.
Exactly. But no one looks at that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like, well, why can't these restaurants pay these high wages? And it's like, because they can't afford to, bro.
They can't.
You know what I mean?
And it's like guests who go like, why do I have to pay automatic 20%? Like, because.
Yeah.
To keep us alive.
Because your cheap ass is going to come out here and not tip anything.
Exactly.
And you think that that's okay. And that's not okay. Because then a guy like me or fucking Pastry, hospitality people go out and they overspend on tips because they know how people are. And so there's no balance there because then you're fucking going out, spending all your money on tips and like, yeah, you want to help other people, but you end up detrimentally fucking yourself because you don't think that 20% is enough.
Yeah.
Because it's never been enough.
That's all too real.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
real.
It's fucking crazy, man. Like and I was talking to somebody else about this. Like, even if you've had a bad experience at Atelier, there is a lot of people that haven't had that experience, that have had good experiences.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not about tearing the place down. You're just telling your truth.
Yeah,
and that's
telling
it's
my
all
story.
Exactly right.
Like,
it's like how it happened to you.
Yeah,
that's not a knock on fucking Kren herself. That's not a knock on any of the team who was there. Like they're just working with what they knew how, and a lot of people don't know any better.
Yeah,
even if it seems like it's the most obvious thing to us, to you, to whoever, that other person just doesn't see it that way.
Yeah,
you know, and it's on us to educate rather than alienate and be like, no, just don't talk to that person.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
I don't think I've ever once said that. I'm like, you know, everybody has their own experiences.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
It's like when people give reviews for where they eat, like even friends or people who write reviews about restaurants and stuff. Like their review isn't going to dictate whether I'm going to like this restaurant or not.
Exactly.
And that's how I approach going with places that I've worked. It's like, sure, things might have happened, but I'm always going to take the positive and know that I had great experiences and that these places have shaped me into who I am now.
Exactly.
Like I look back on my career and I go, okay, well, this happened here, this could have been better. But in the end, I'm who I am now because of the things. Yeah.
And that's the hard thing to accept.
Yeah.
That like, listen, to get somewhere, like, you have to go through some hard times. And the people that are giving you those hard times are not, you know, yeah, there's fucking malicious, hateful people out there.
Yep.
But I would hate to think that most of our industry, as hard as we work for the guests, that we're out to fuck each other.
Yeah.
Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, did Dan Barber fuck up? Yeah, he fucked up. Did he fuck up even more by writing a poem? Yeah, he fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All we wanted was Dan to come out and say, hey, an incident happened. I was not a good enough leader to take care of it at that point. All I cared about was this reputation because I had cooks that traveled all over the country that left their families to come work for me. So yeah, I didn't police something that should have been policed.
Yeah.
You know, because of all these fears. Is it an excuse? Does it make it right? Fuck no. It never will. But I'll tell you what doesn't make it right and even makes it wronger is not saying anything.
Yeah.
And just fucking writing cryptic poems and shit. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Nobody's barbecuing him to the point where like we're gonna fucking go after you and you're like we should close your restaurant, right? And truly, what I feel bad for is the cooks that work there right now.
Yeah.
Like the guys who are coming in there giving it their all, and then their chefs being roasted like every day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Should he be roasted for what happened? Fuck yeah. But now let's find a solution.
Yeah. And I think that nobody really finds solutions.
No.
In the industry. Like now we were talking about EMP. It's like right now they're going through everything they're going through and being a vegan restaurant and all the things, hearing that they went back on paying their cooks more money.
Yeah, that's
and
fucked.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like But then again, nothing's changed.
Nothing changes.
You know,
No.
like I have friends who still work there, and I know and I follow people who still work there. Like, what do they think when they go into work every day, busting their asses, while the world around them outside is bashing the restaurant,
Right.
while they're not being taken care of, but they're showing loyalty? Because I remember when I started my career, where it was like EMP, it was like they can pay you however little they want because it's the name of the restaurant in the end.
And you went there.
follows
You didn't give a fuck.
Exactly. And I still went there. And that people in the industry still do that now. They want the name of the restaurant to be associated with their resume.
They want the
or
knowledge.
their credentials. And guess what? There's going to reach a point where you realize that you don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
There's going to be a point where you know your worth and you understand that you are worth more, and you just want to not do that.
You know, I feel like most times, not most times, some of the time, we just take that victim mentality
Yep.
and we look at the people that have been, let's just call them oppressors, right? We look at them and say, well, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
And it's like, no. What can we do to help them better their perspective? You know, can we be compassionate enough to show them who we really are versus, you know, trying to like just cancel them and take them down?
Yeah.
Like, you can't cancel Dan Barber. It's very obvious.
Yeah,
You've
you
tried,
can't.
you can't do it.
You
You know what I
can't.
mean? Like, and I would think that Eater probably has more articles in the works coming out about restaurants.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, but it's bullshit that like to this day we haven't heard from Blaine Wetzel.
No,
Like,
not
where
at
the
all.
fuck are you at, dog?
Not
like,
a single
just
peep.
fucking come out here, cop to your shit, and you know, come do it on Sucio Talk. Like,
Yeah.
we'll talk right here. I'm not gonna punch you in the face
Yeah.
for what you did. Do some people want to punch you in the face? Of course,
Absolutely.
I'll let them fucking deal with that.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is from his side, what the fuck's going on, bro? And like, why would that happen? Why did you let that happen? And for them to come here or come wherever and be
Yeah.
completely honest with that and just be like, these are the things that I did. This is why I did them. I fuck up all the time.
Yeah.
I like, you know, you had situations in, say, your love life, right? That
Yeah.
that for some reason never sees the light of day. Well, it's probably because it's your personal life, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you, you know, as a man, that I have made, you know, women that I've been with sad before. You know what I mean?
100%.
Was that like an intention? No.
No.
But did I have to address it? Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not, and just fucking leave and not say anything. That's the worst. Like, these guys have ghosted the game to
Yeah.
not have to explain themselves.
And
And I'm tired of it.
that's insane.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, Daniel Hume, come out here, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just be transparent.
Yeah.
And I
Just
feel
be like, hey, look, we fucked up. This is what I did. I'm sorry.
you know, there's so much lack of transparency everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know earlier we talked about, you know, that the restaurant industry is such a reactive thing. And sometimes as chefs, when you have a significant other, like that bleeds into your life. You become a more reactive person. You are angry all the time. You're upset all the time. You're kind of, you know, just not the best version of yourself. And I've definitely come off like that in like past relationships. Like
For sure.
an ex-boyfriend definitely just could not handle that I was just so upset all the time. I just wanted to be mad at everything.
Yeah, you want to be mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we are in the restaurant industry, it's usually an industry of very few words. So you don't have the time to explain yourself or talk about this or do that. You just got to get it done.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be like a man of very few words, and I would just like say one thing, hope it's reconciled, and then be able to move on. Because
Yeah.
in the industry, you just have to be able to keep going.
Yeah.
And I can't approach my life that way, I guess.
And you can't be mad at the person for not like changing right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think of when I've said things in the past. I had this issue when I first became a manager. Most of my orders, let's call them, were suggestions.
Okay.
Like, hey, you guys could do this.
Yes.
And then I'd get mad when it didn't happen. But I'm like, but wait a minute.
Yeah.
You communicated in such a way that it felt like they didn't have to do it if they didn't want to, right? So it's like, it's all about how you message what you want to happen.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't happen, how you discipline. Because that's another thing that's happening. If we lose fine dining, where is the discipline?
Yeah.
We can't just all go work at Chili's. That's not why we do this. That's not why you're sitting here. It's not why I'm sitting here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're sitting here because we found something that you could be great at within a field that is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful.
It is.
When it is the most, when perfect shit happens, it's like,
it's the most magical experience
yeah, man.
ever.
People will die and they think about these fucking meals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I have one of my friends, he used to work at Somni, and that restaurant doesn't exist anymore, and he ended up not being in the industry anymore. And we always talk about how friends and people that we know in our lives aren't in the industry anymore.
right.
And all the power to them. I'm so happy for them, but I feel like a lot of the narrative these days are only talking about people who left the industry.
Right.
Like Riley, for example.
Exactly.
She left the industry. She got press, publications, all of that of her leaving the industry. But we don't talk enough about the people who continue to be in
Fuck
the
yeah.
industry.
Yes,
like,
Mark.
why are we not lifting up people who continuously work in fine dining, work at a bakery like Kim? Like, why are we not supporting the people who are still pushing in the industry?
Right.
Why are we so quick to bash the industry and support those who left the industry?
Right. And that's not a knock either on Riley or anybody who's
not at
written
all.
articles. It's like, it's just what the focus is of the media.
Exactly.
So when even new people that haven't been in the fine dining circle and probably will never be, all they hear is the ramblings of
side.
like, fucking restaurants suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
We're
like,
just gonna talk
no,
about,
they don't.
We're just going to talk about how restaurant culture and all of
Yeah.
this is negative
Yeah.
and that all of it is bad. But there are those out there who want to make a difference in the industry. Why not talk about them every once in a while?
Exactly. And that's something that I look at Eater. I'm on Eater every day, and I'm just making sure like to see like where the writing is going, and they do a pretty good job of keeping it linear.
Yeah.
But I will say that the Instagram posts most of the time that
Yes.
get pushed, the content that gets pushed is the negative shit.
Yes.
The EMP, the fucking, this guy didn't do that. This guy knew this and didn't do anything about it. You know, I'm sure we could audit a lot of the people that work at Eater.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure that you'd find some shit that they did that was not, you know. But I will say something to maybe stop this train of that shit is these chefs out here that have yelled at people, that have treated people wrong, and like, you know, you feel it inside when you go home, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You know.
Call that fucking person. Talk to them. Apologize.
Yeah.
You know, like the time is now.
Yeah.
Because we're all gonna go, bro. And once you go, there's no other chance. Yeah. So it's like let's give people their flowers while they're alive. Let's apologize to people while they're alive, and let's not wait till tragedy strikes for people to be like, oh wait.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
that also stems from just chefs not being able to be more open about
yeah, or honest, yeah.
And honesty is, they also just don't feel the need to be honest.
No,
they
not
don't.
at all.
They are also most. I can't say all, most, but you know, some of them just can't convey their thoughts or their feelings. They don't want to have to deal with things when it gets too tough. Like they'd rather just.
I've had that deal where,
you know.
where like, you know, you have a conversation that you want to have, and then you look over and they're walking out, and you're like, this
You're
guy
like, okay.
doesn't care to even talk about what the fuck is at hand right now.
Exactly.
You know? And that when you run away from fucking festering problems, you will have more problems and bigger problems.
Yep.
So it's like,
You can try to suppress those.
yeah,
But they're still
exactly.
there.
They're still there. Yeah. That guy, like, you know, anytime you roast anybody or like try to coach somebody and it doesn't come off in a certain way, you gotta come back around and make them understand why whatever happened.
Yeah.
And if you fucked up and said some shit that you weren't supposed to say, apologize.
Yeah.
And it's okay, because for the longest time, Chef never apologized.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that you have to sit here and fucking apologize for everything you do, but there needs to be clarity on how the discipline is going to roll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would always tell my cooks, like, yeah, I'm going to raise my voice sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't hate you.
No.
Like, it's just coming from a place of passion, and it's how I communicate.
Exactly.
And after a while, they understand. They're like, oh, okay, like,
You know.
he may be raising his voice at me, but he doesn't, like, hate my family.
No.
You know what
And I would tell cooks that all the time.
Yeah.
I'd be like, if I didn't care about you, your future, your career, or how you're supposed to work, I wouldn't even say anything.
Yeah.
Like, if I didn't care about your work ethic, I just wouldn't say anything. You know?
Yeah.
I can easily just brush it under a rug and
Yeah.
just keep going, but I feel like that's a disservice. Like,
100.
Yeah.
100. You know, people just don't want to hear the truth, and I think when you start bringing up the truth and you start talking some shit that people are like, whoa, we're not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, fuck it. Anything can be talked about.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So it's like, open the fucking floodgates, have actual conversations at your staff meal about how we're going to make the restaurant better.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of covering it up with dumbass Netflix talk or whatever.
Absolutely.
And then you go back to work and it's the same shit.
This is one of the reasons why I am at the restaurant that I am
Right.
with Gozu. You know, my team, we talk about things that I've never been able to talk about at restaurants. We talk about how we're all going to therapy. We talk about our feelings. We communicate. We, you know, talk to each other about how we can do things differently and better. Like, we're still relatively an unknown restaurant.
Right.
You know, they opened right before the pandemic, had a kitchen fire, a lot of setbacks.
Damn.
And yeah. So, I mean, the fact that it's still up and running, it's only a testament to, you know, my chef and the team that he chooses to put in place there.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about things very openly. We're not afraid to, you know, talk about everything.
Yeah.
And that's not something that other restaurants have.
Hold yourself, hold everyone accountable.
Correct.
Yeah. And then we didn't talk about your time at Cezanne. The thing happened at Petite.
Yeah.
And then what happens to you after that?
After Petite, I went to Qua. And
Okay.
I worked for Eric Anderson.
Okay.
But I only wanted to work for Eric Anderson and not Daniel Patterson. So
Right. Why is that?
oh boy.
Go ahead.
We're gonna open a can of worms.
Open
here.
a can of worms. Because I brought his name up yesterday, and somebody
Yeah.
was like, "That's a very highly controversial figure."
He is a very
Yeah.
highly controversial figure, and if you've ever worked for Daniel Patterson at Qua, there is an annual event that he would have his team do,
Right.
catered. We worked there. It's called, gosh, I don't want to start any fires, but it was called somewhere in Occidental. And it was
Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove, correct.
Damn, you guys cooked at Bohemian Grove? All males, right? All male club.
All white.
Yeah, all
males.
white male club. Bohemian Grove. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
about that. Meadowood did a couple dinners up there too.
And it just
Put that out there.
It just didn't sit right with me, and I was like, "Oh my god, like this is insane." And the only good thing that came out of that event was that for some reason, Conan O'Brien was doing a show that night at Bohemian Grove.
So Conan O'Brien
Himself.
plays
He was
Bohemian
there.
Grove.
He was there
Right.
himself doing his shtick.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, interesting. And I'm like, I didn't think the first time I would see Conan O'Brien would be at Bohemian Grove. But, you know,
Yeah.
it was just a very weird dynamic and definitely not a place where I would feel comfortable.
Right.
And when Eric Anderson left, Daniel Patterson came in and was like, I want to do a vegetarian menu. And right away it was like covers dropped like flies. And that vegetarian menu only lasted a grand total of 1 day.
Yeah.
And so that was not one of, that was my first pastry chef job, official pastry chef job.
Right.
And Eric Anderson is a great guy. Like, he, of course, had his moments. Mm-hmm. But
And we all do.
yeah, they all do.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
You know?
So after he left, I left shortly after, just
Okay.
because.
So you saw that Kirkley come in kind of during that time?
Kirkley was before Eric Anderson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. All right. Got you.
So Kirkley was before Chef Eric, and ended up going to Sorrel and kind of working at a 1 Michelin star environment, which I've never done. Which
What would you say the difference for you is between 3 and 1?
the difference is the intensity. You know, there would be days at Sorrel where it's busy, but it's not like you feel like someone has a knife right behind your back and like you got to keep going.
Right, right.
You know, like I would go, like, cause that's how I was
That's how you
raised
go,
in the
yeah,
industry.
yeah.
But like, there's not that same like intense, crazy fire in your ass
Yeah.
kind of push. So I was able to really kind of reel it in a little bit and discover my plating style, like find out flavors that I liked,
Got
and
you.
like basically create more of an identity for myself as a pastry chef. So that was definitely one of the most important jobs that I've had in my time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorrel. Who's the chef there?
Alex Hong,
Alex Hong.
Yeah.
Still the chef there?
still chef there, chef and owner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check it out. And I have him on the show too. So why'd you leave Sorrel?
I left Sorrel for a couple different reasons. I, for one, had the offer from Cezanne because one of the sous chefs at Sorrel was like, hey, they're looking for a pastry chef down there. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I wanted to go back into that higher fine dining.
Yeah.
Because I know what it could potentially be.
Yeah.
And I put in my 1.5 years at Sorrel, and I actually brought in one of this girl who I thought was my friend at the time. Like, we worked together at Atelier Cren, and I suggested her for the CDC role at Sorrel, and she got the job, and we were working together, and then it just became this really catty, unprofessional dynamic between us.
Right.
Like, she would do things behind my back, send stuff that I ordered back with the purveyor, like, and I'm here like, okay, well, my food cost isn't that high where I can't afford, some micro shiso, and
Yeah.
she just sends it back with the guy without even talking to me.
Right.
And it would just reach like times where we were just at each other's throats, and it was just not healthy at all. And
Who put a stop to it? You or her?
I did. I
Okay.
just removed myself from the equation because it also seemed like the restaurant took her side a lot.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm not coming from a place of not caring about this restaurant. We should all just work together better and not take sides.
Right.
Especially when it's a smaller team. You can't. So it was time to move on from there.
Right.
And
What's she doing now?
I think we don't keep in touch anymore, but I think she's doing like some private chef gig or
Cool.
doing something like that with her girlfriend, with her wife.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, so they're doing whatever they're doing. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing.
It's all good.
Yeah. And I think this is probably a good opportunity to talk about something that I really haven't talked about outside of my own close friend group.
Right.
So I was at Cezanne, and like things were good, but I was dating a guy at the time, and we fell into this absolute zone of just drinking all the time. Like, we'd hang out, we'd go on dates, and all we'd do was drink. And it ended up bleeding into work. So
Were you like showing up hungover and shit?
I had a beer during work.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's something that I haven't talked about with anyone other than my friends and my family. And that leads me to, put it out there that there are other people in our industry who struggle with substance abuse and alcoholism, and who's going to help them? We go through long hours, stresses, things that, other people might not see. Like, they might not see that you're struggling,
Yeah.
but you got to check in on your coworkers. You got to check in on your cooks. You got to check in and make sure that they're okay.
Yeah.
And you can't just say that you're going to be there for them. Like, actively make a point, take time out of your day and actively check up on them.
Right.
Have a conversation, see how things are going. Because underneath, sometimes they're just going through so much. And I lost my job at Saison at the same time that I lost a relationship. It was the same weekend. It's tough.
They're just like,
And I'm like, here I am, rock bottom, like not knowing what to do, where to go, what my next step should be, like whether I'm going to be single for the rest of my life.
you're just lost.
I'm just as lost as I could possibly get.
Did you keep drinking?
I stopped
Okay.
for a little bit. I don't drink as intensively or like just keep drinking. It's like one here, there. It got to a point where I was drinking and driving. It was just not cool.
Mark, relax, bro.
It just got down to
Yeah.
just a really dark place for me. And it kind of took like the whole therapy and just getting myself out of that.
Right. So how long were you at Saison before you?
I was at Saison for 9 months.
9 months. Okay.
And they still have my dessert on the menu.
Oh, chef. What's it called?
So it's an upside down pineapple cake. And
That was you?
That's me.
Hey,
That's me.
Love it. But you know what? Sometimes I feel that way. Like I'll look at the Charter Oak menu and I'll be like, "That's my dish."
That's mine.
At the end of the day, it's like, it's the restaurant's dish.
Exactly.
You know?
It's like Mike Bagel.
Yeah.
And the
But I will
balloon at Olivia.
exactly. But I will say, like, there's those special restaurants out there who still will give the credit where the credit is due, and be like, "Oh yeah, we used to have a pastry chef here. His name is Mark. This is blah blah blah." I doubt that's part of the narrative now, right?
I doubt that.
But I always made it a point to like, because when I took over Charter Oak, people would be like, "This chicken is amazing," and I'm like, "That was Chef Kat. I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Like, she made the recipe, she R&D'd it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's her dish as far as I'm concerned, right? And now coming out of that and having some dishes that are still on the menu, featured on the menu there, I don't look at it as like, that's my dish. It's like, I'm fucking honored that he still thinks that that's good enough to be on the menu.
Oh, yeah, same.
And at the end of the day, it's like, it'll forever be Costow food. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that Rich deals with this all the time now at Saison.
Yeah.
It's like people still will give Josh Skeens the credit, but really it's him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not fucking Josh Skeens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So where do we go? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we should have Rich Leon.
Yeah.
Fucking talk
Definitely
about
have
Saison.
Chef Rich
Fucking
Leon.
killing it over there.
Yeah.
The whole Saison group is killing it. So you leave there, and then what's your next step?
That's where I am at. All right.
You went to Gozu?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go there right after, or did you take some time to like sort of?
I definitely took some time to really just center myself. You know, I think I never take the time to really focus on my own health and my own needs. And I feel like that's also very common, you know, across restaurants, where I just reached a point where I just needed a little more time to focus on what I was doing, what I'm doing wrong, what could be better. And that's led me to where I am now.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fucking, what do you have terms for the future? You trying to open up your own spot? You trying to take it easy and just be a pastry chef somewhere?
I'm gonna
Got some
continue.
adopted kids coming in. You know, what do you got?
Oh man.
What do you got?
No adopted kids. I already have, you know, my godson and his
Yeah.
2 sisters, which are already like kids to me.
Yeah.
Like I treat them like they're my own kids.
Gotcha.
I'm definitely not really looking to open anything of my own anytime soon, just because San Francisco is a really competitive market when it comes to pastries, especially like
Yeah.
baked goods, croissants and stuff.
Everyone's got pastries.
Like San Francisco takes it to a new level. Like it's not like that in New York.
No,
Here,
no, no,
it's
definitely not.
nuts.
I mean, it's like there's a specialty donut shop fucking like every quarter of the city for
there's
sure.
a special bakery here. There's a croissant bakery here. Like there's one here. There's one there. I think eventually the idea for me personally is to have my own kind of tasting dessert concept, dessert tasting, small format, maybe 10 seats a night.
Right.
but that doesn't pay the bills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So whether it be a coffee shop by day or also coffee shop by night, because there's no good coffee at night in the Bay Area. There really isn't. If you really think about it, it's like all those great coffee roasters like Ritual, Sight Glass, all of those, they close by 6 o'clock.
Right.
People drink coffee at night.
Yeah. Maybe only you, Mark.
Or at least I.
Maybe we need to make an insomnia coffee.
Yeah, probably just me. It'll
Insomniac coffee. There you
be
go.
called Insomniac.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, I mean, I think that is actually a great idea, because what I think about is the people that don't drink anymore. Like
Yeah.
they don't have like a social place to go to.
Correct.
Like it's always like the people hanging out with the people that don't drink, but you're at a bar and then they have to order non-alcoholic. It's like,
Yeah.
what about you make a special place for them that they can go to and like
That's true too.
enjoy a sober time and not have to be fucked up.
Yeah, there's a lot
know?
of, I feel like a question that I get a lot is, where do you go for dessert? Like when it's late night and you're trying to go somewhere, most people don't order dessert if you're at an a la carte restaurant. They're
Right.
like, oh, no, thanks. But let's say you had to take a short ride somewhere else and that happens to be here. Do you consider getting dessert? Most people don't. But I feel like in the city, people go get ice cream or they go get crepes and stuff. Like,
very true.
What if you wanted to do something different?
Very true.
What if you cook dinner at home, but then you want to go out for dessert? What are your options?
A little dessert tasting. Those things came up in Boston. I think there was one.
There was one in New York where
Yeah.
it was like the past La Bernardin pastry chef, Mike
Right.
Lasconis.
Okay.
Yeah, he did one for a while, but I think he closed it during the pandemic.
Got you.
Yeah.
I wiped out a lot of fucking restaurants.
Yeah,
Shout out
really
to all the
did.
restaurants that survived.
Oof.
Shout out to all the new restaurants that are opening. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's always restaurants in the mix because it's like it takes so long.
Yeah.
Like I wonder what restaurants are going to open 3 years from now and 4 years from now, and 5 years from now. And what does the landscape look like for new cooks?
Yeah.
Is this a viable career? Is this a viable thing to do? Can we make it a better industry? I'm not sure. Yeah. But, you're doing the work. You're going to therapy. And then how did you get into therapy? Been in therapy your whole life? Or?
No, I gave therapy a go a couple years ago, and it was just an older white guy sitting there going, hey, you need to focus on your breathing, this and that. And it's just like, how is that going to really help?
Yeah, you don't know what I'm going through, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I would hear about people talking about the new BetterHelp app that's good for therapy. And I decided to give it a go. And it's just, you fill out a questionnaire, like what you would want in a therapist, like guy or girl or whatever, non-binary. Do you want an LGBT therapist? And for me, that was something that I really wanted, because that way I would know that he would understand where I'm coming from. So it was just narrowing this down, and like my therapist is amazing. Like he lives in New York, he paints his nails, he
dope
relates, he like he just gets it.
He knows, he knows. Some people can't relate. Exactly. That's not their fault.
It's not.
It's not.
But for therapy to be great, you need someone who you can relate
Oh,
to.
yeah. Well, for a long time, I feel like therapy was just a degree.
Oh.
Back in the day when college ruled everything, where it was like you go to school, and it was like philosophy, psychology, general studies. Those are like the three.
Yeah.
So that's why we're where we're at. I keep saying it. It's like that's why we're all fucked up, because the people that are running the country don't actually know how to do anything.
No.
They just got hooked up by their friends who like went to esteemed colleges and were like, all right, cool, that's your son. Here you go. Put him in this college.
Yeah.
All he has to do is try the bare minimum.
And show up.
Yeah, we'll pass him, put him in this fraternity, and then he's going to be president in 50 years.
Jesus.
But does he know how to actually do anything? No, he doesn't.
Is he relatable?
Yeah.
Does he know what everyday Americans go
Exactly.
through?
Has he gotten the clap once?
No.
You never know.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what was that website again? For the
BetterHelp.
BetterHelp.com. Or is it an app?
It's an app.
It's an app.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And just in terms of cost-wise, is it more or less expensive than a regular?
It's less. And
Really?
I know that a lot of people struggle with wanting to start therapy because of the cost of it.
Yeah.
Here it's like $240 for a month. So basically $60 a week. They also have, online seminars and resources that you can access all the time. And if for some reason you miss this is not an ad, by the way, for BetterHelp, but it's like,
or it could be, Chef.
If some way you miss this seminar, not your session, but say you missed this seminar where you wanted to learn about different topics, and they'll have a bunch of different ones. They'll actually send you the full video of the seminar to your email, and you can just watch it whenever.
Oh, word.
Yeah. It's been incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
And I know some people want to be tough and be like, oh, therapy's not for me. Like, people who go to therapy are snowflakes or softies.
Right.
And that. But guess what? Like, you probably have just the same amount of issues, if not more,
Oh,
that
for
I
sure.
have.
It's easy to be outwardly aggressive towards people that go to therapy.
Yeah.
But like, when you have the courage to fucking go spelunking inside your mind, like, that is, it's fucking fucked up there, man. You know what I mean?
Like I just had my session before I came here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like, there are things sometimes that I unravel, and my therapist just sits there and looks at me and just like,
what the fuck?
like,
Yeah, for sure,
like, that's
for sure.
going on.
Yeah. But honestly, just the talking through it, and that's why I feel like this podcast is important.
Yes.
Because for the longest time, I don't think we've had a platform where you could say all the things that you've said.
Correct.
And, people will receive it whatever way they want to receive it. But we are holding people accountable without fucking taking down their entire empire or taking down their family. That's not what we're looking to do, But we are looking to shine a light on the truths that happen in that restaurant, so maybe they won't happen again.
Yeah.
Because what's happening now is you see these articles coming out, right? It'd be better if we could just fix things in real time rather than go back 10 years and be like, these are all the horrible things that happened there.
Man.
And by anonymous people who don't even want to say their name for fear of getting blacklisted in the industry. And I'm like, I'm just tired of it, man.
Yeah.
Like, no, ain't nobody gonna fucking blacklist me. I don't give a fuck. Like, and I will gladly have all the people that everyone has canceled on this show and let them speak their piece. Does that mean I agree with what they're doing? No. It just means that I'm willing to hear them out.
Yeah.
And maybe through them talking about it, they will be able to realize the things that they are fucking up. Sometimes you don't know until you talk through it. And like, I've had that happen a lot with the podcast where people are like, oh man, I haven't thought about that till now.
Yeah.
And like, this is how I feel about it. It's kind of like that closure. Like, man, we can just, like, I'm sure you don't openly say I got fired from Meadowood.
Yeah.
Nobody
No,
openly
I don't.
said, yeah, right? Nobody, no cook ever openly says I got fired from this place. You know what I mean? But it's like, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
If that happened, it happened. And you were at a time in your life where it just wasn't your time to be there. And that's cool.
Yeah. There were things that were going on, and I was in a completely different realm from what I know in pastry.
Exactly.
So it's like,
man. It's all good.
I love the opportunity, but
yeah,
never one bad thing to say.
exactly.
And I remember, like, while I was at Sorrel, after the fire happened, it was like there was a lady that tried to like do interviews with people who have worked at Meadowood.
Right.
Yeah, and like she like sought me out somehow, and like I was like, I'm not gonna say anything bad about the restaurant, which is what I'm pretty sure you want me to say.
Yeah, and that's so that woman, whoever she is, the one who wrote the article about Chef Costow and that eater thing about it being an abusive thing, like, let's be honest, like, the guy that's coming for, I never met him before. Never fucking met him before in my life, so I cannot speak on the thing. If he had a truth that he wants to say, go ahead and say it, but don't do it in a way that's like tearing down an entire man's like work. Like, you're gonna take away 30 years of that guy.
Works hard.
Yeah, that man works hard.
We
and
remember
like,
this.
yeah, exactly.
We
So
worked there every day. We were there,
and it's like people have issues, like real issues with these guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can sit here and think about all the times that he maybe yelled at me or he maybe didn't treat me the way I thought I should be treated. But also, why?
Yeah.
I don't fucking waste my time with that.
No.
So, but again, both sides, like, I'm sure he could reach out to some people and say, hey, I'm sorry that happened between us, That was just calm the fucking noise sometimes. Because sometimes you, as a cook, this, you're fucking like super negative. And you can go down that rabbit hole of like putting yourself actually in situations that you've been in before, and you get like that adrenaline, like the fight adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
Because you're like, fuck, like I should have done this and I should have done that and fuck that guy. And it's like, bro, if you go through like that through life, you're never gonna be happy.
Exactly. And
Like-
I've just reached that point where I just can't be that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I also get so worked up over like if I remember like these experiences, like sometimes I get numb from like head to toe because I'm just so worked up over it.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just like, I think if we are able to just talk about it, we might find a solution rather than harping on the problem.
Yeah.
And that's just all. That's all I can say right now as it stands in fucking August 1st. You know what I'm saying?
It's already
2022.
August. Holy
It's
crap,
already
it's
August,
already
baby. It's about
August.
to be 2023 up in this bitch.
Jeez.
But who knows, man? I might see the plague. Fucking Mark, I want to thank you so much for being on the
Thank you
show and being
so
open
much
with
for
me,
having
being
me.
honest. It's been such a long time.
I know.
Yeah, thanks so much. People out there, Mark Lieuw, find him on Instagram. How do we find you?
One Baker's Journey.
One Baker's Journey. Not the number, but the word. All right?
All right.
Sucio Talk Podcast. See you guys. Peace. Peace. There it is.